Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm here at the IEEE PES, that's a lot of acronyms, conference. This is the 2020 version that is actually being held in 2022. These interviews that we're conducting is with thought leaders on the future of the power industry. So enjoy. My next guest is both a dear friend and a brother, and someone that I actually work for him. He is my boss. It is Dale Bissonette with Good Place Holdings. He is the president of Good Place Holdings. He also holds a bunch of titles within the companies under that. But Dale, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure as always, Alan. You're always fun.
I'm always fun. So Dale, let's talk about the future. You are a futurist. You're a visionary. I tell people that all the time. What do you see that is taking place in the industry? And that could be the power industry, it could be at the industrial level, it could be at the utility level, it could be the munis, co-ops, whatever. But what are the major changes that you see that we're going to have to adapt to?
Okay, so let me get my crystal ball.
That's what I want.
Okay, the crystal
keep
ball.
going.
Oh, Swami. Okay, what's in there?
Yes.
Oh my. One of the things I see a lot going on is the consolidation of the suppliers and the service companies in this industry. There's not a day that doesn't go by that there's not an investment banking group that wants to acquire somebody and roll things up. There seems to be this idea that in the energy sector, there's a lot of ways of capitalizing on that.
And there's a lot of money coming into that sector, buying these companies and rolling them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And roll-ups have some advantages, many disadvantages.
Yeah.
One of the challenges I have concern about in the future is culture.
Ooh, that's
and the issues about culture and how roll-ups are going to look at the value of economics solely and really take the focus about what really and who really does all this.
Yeah. So if you take the economics solely, and I know that is not part of the charter of Good Place Holdings, there are three main aims of Good Place Holdings. What are they?
Well, that's a good question, Alan.
Okay.
There's three main things at a Good Place organization. A Good Place has a power group, which a company like S.D. Myers, EPRA, the alliance that you're part of, is in that. Another company called Power Pro 360 is an example. And they all have to, and we have several other businesses that are very different than the power area. They all have to do three main things, and that is one, valuing people over creating a surplus. And that sounds pretty like noble and even common.
Yeah.
But valuing people can be, in many people's view, as simply as like taking care of them and paying them well, or that they have a nice place to work. And those are all good things. And we think that is a value, but that's kind of like a ticket into the game.
Yeah.
The game really is about how do you bring out the best in people?
Ooh.
What is their true potential as a person? And can that be brought about over the idea of creating surpluses for the sake of return on investment?
Yeah.
And with roll-ups, as we just talked about, it's hard not to make that because that's what the reason the roll-up is happening, associated with making a return. And there's a lot of sacrifice to the people.
All right.
I was just talking to a gentleman earlier, and that was an issue that someone bought a company and they totally destroyed the culture.
Right.
And that group then was suffering. Well, it's because it's about the economics. And people are what make this industry. People are IEEE.
Before you go to the other two, you use the term surplus over profit. You're saying surplus. Why do you have that distinction?
Well, I think soon everyone does go down to the profit level. They think profit or money.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of surplus areas. I think there's surplus in equipment, there's surplus in facilities, there's surplus in technologies, there's surplus in IP, and that all takes money in order to do that, which takes it away from really caring, may I say, and I'll even use the word loving your staff.
Right, right.
There's a lot going on in strategy today.
Yeah.
A lot going on in problem solving. We are engineers by trade in this group and number one problem solvers.
Yeah.
And absent a contextual idea of why the problem is being solved, it doesn't stick.
Right.
And the only way you can contextualize it is being relationship. And part of your brain really revolves around relationship and the idea of joy. And the other part is about logic. A lot of us were taught that left-handed people have a right brain control, the creative people here and all that. That's not actually true. What's really true is all information goes through the right side of your brain and it's processed 6 times faster than what you can think. It happens like in your subconscious. And then it automatically comes over in the front part of your brain over to your left side where logic takes in. And that's where your idea of character, but character formation out of the context of love and joy and relationship, you get lost.
So one of the things I love about talking with you is we don't really talk about the normal business things. We really talk about these things because you live them, you practice them, and I can tell you.
Everyone talks about those, don't they, Alan?
They do. In fact, we've been doing a lot of these all day, and nobody's talked about what you're talking. What are the other two?
So the other area is that the work that you do should create good places.
Whoa, that's interesting.
A lot of organizations that are here probably give some money to charities.
Okay.
And let's say you have $100 that you generate in revenue. And if you're doing really well, at the very end of all expenses, you probably make $10. 15 if you're really doing a good job.
Right.
And then people tithe 10%. They give to charities 10% of that.
If
so
that
that's
much.
$1.
If much. If
so
that much.
The charities who care for society and create places that are good get to work on 1%. What if everything you do, every dollar you spend, every activity you do, every investment you make, every piece of equipment, every person you hire is all around creating the good that everyone, because after all, who wants to work at a bad place?
Who wants to go to a bad place?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So, what does that mean, and can you make everything about you?
Right.
The third is the aspect of being economically regenerative, because I believe anything that is healthy will regenerate itself.
Right.
Now, that sounds like that's a little bit in conflict with the number one, which it talked about the aspect of valuing people over creating surpluses. Now, if you listen to that, it's being economically regenerative. So if you can regenerate all of that, it has to all be in harmony, connecting. They're not linear, they're all work together simultaneously. That's what we think is about the aims of a Good Place organization.
So the power group, what do you do? What if you've got all these presidents and people running these companies? Yeah. What do you say to them about the future? How they're supposed to? Let's assume that they follow the charter. How are they supposed to position themselves for this new future in the power industry?
That's a good question. Again, that crystal ball.
I'm asking.
Okay, what's going on in there? It's really complicated. Yeah. Digital. Everyone is talking about that. It would be hard to miss that as an opportunity. I think the softer side that most people would say is, although digital is the common and most generating rate, when you walk around this event, you're seeing a lot of digitalization of things.
Right.
But without the culture of people, again, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And if I think about the future, that's the thing, again, at risk. And if we invest in that and we can grow that aspect of good cultures, again, those roll-ups and bigger businesses, there's nothing wrong with big businesses. And if it's not about the right why, people talk about Simon Sinek, who asked the question why.
Yeah.
He did not invent it. I'm sorry to dismay, the TED Talks, he did not invent the question why.
I think I did, but go ahead.
You may have. Okay, you can answer the question why, but do you have the right why? Or is it the why that Wall Street wants you to believe?
Right. It's a very unique way of looking at things and living under that umbrella. I can tell you it is lived out. It is not something that, you preach and we don't say it. And it's hard. It's harder to do it that. It's a lot easier to make money.
Without question.
Oh, right. Just go make money. Don't care about the other.
Yeah.
The next area I want us to focus on is Bob Razor.
Yeah.
Bob Razor, 44 years, right?
Absolutely,
You've known him a lot longer than I have. Bob's probably been part of IEEE for 48 years when he went to, got his EE degree, right?
Yeah, I probably have lost track of how many years.
Yeah. And I know that you personally, when you were the president of SD Myers, you sponsored a lot of people to participate on committees, the Transformer Committee, other committees, and ASTM and others. I mean, you've been a great sponsor. The company has. Talk about the value of IEEE to the company and the value that you think a company ought to bring to IEEE.
You know, practitioners hold the keys.
Absolutely.
I think we can have all the great strategies and all of these investments on the corporate, the C-level or whatever you want to call the ivory towers of organizations. Those who are dealing with the everyday things of keeping the power running. After all, the whole country is based on electric power.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is at the real core. We can talk about all these other things, but without it, nothing else is really running.
Right.
So the practitioners, they have to own this. And that's one of the things I love about IEEE is they create committees of true practitioners living and doing it every day. So they know the implications of these decisions. Now, sometimes the decisions take a little long to make.
Tell me about it. 6 years to do a new DGA guide, but guess what? We got it.
That's right. But without them, there isn't one.
Right. Oh, that's true.
You know, the founder of SD Myers, he has his name in some of the earlier stages of all of these things, including even ASTM.
Yeah.
So without people like that, I don't see that there is great success. So IEEE brings a great deal of value. They've always continued, and the staff that we've had is just a way of giving back.
That's excellent. Dale, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it very much. You were someone who we kind of forced in. We kept the doors open. You can see that there's no hum behind us, but as always, it's been a joy.
Well, thank you, Alan.